Hi everybody, welcome back to In The Huddle. I'm Jillian Kushner and today is going to be Football Basics Part 2. So before we get started, hit that little subscribe button below and we are ready to start this. Let's go. Alright, so really basics, we're going to be talking about what each position does. So there's 11 players on offense and 11 players on defense at the field at all times. So there's going to be the offensive, defense, and special teams. Special teams is when there's the kickoff, punts, field goals, extra points. That's the special teams in offense and defense. I think y'all know what that is. So starting with special teams, the only thing really special about special teams is the kicker. So there's a kicker and a punter. Usually the kicker is also a place kicker. So those are going to be two different people. A place kicker is different than a punter. Punter does punts, kickers do kickoffs, and usually field goals and extra points. So that's pretty simple in that part. And then let's talk about the offense. So the offense, we get started, so like I said, 11 people. So first there's the offensive line. The offensive line, those are usually the big guys, all right? Probably like close to 300-pound big guys. Yeah, I know. So we have those big guys, and they're the offensive line, and they're holding the pocket. We call that the pocket, what they create around the quarterback. The quarterback is usually behind the offensive line. So here's the offensive line. I'm the quarterback. They create a pocket to try to protect me. Well, if they're a good offensive line, they'll do that. If they're bad, they're not good at that, and then I get sacked if I'm the quarterback. So the offensive line contains offensive linemen. The guy in the center of the offensive line is the center. The center is the one who snaps the ball back to the quarterback. Okay? Offensive line. There's usually like 5 offensive linemen, including the center. And then we get the quarterback, all right? I'm the one, I throw the ball, hand off to the running back. I think a lot of y'all know what a quarterback does. Usually the most well-known players in football are the quarterbacks. And then we have the running back / tailback. They're both really the same thing. They're usually next to the quarterback or behind the quarterback. And like I said, running back, he runs the ball. He can also be used as a receiver. A lot of times people will throw to the running back, but they're running backs. They run. Then we have the receivers. The amount of receivers you have really depends on, how many more people you need on the field to reach that 11. Because with a running back and the quarterback and the offensive lineman, you're usually at like 7 people. So they'll add probably like 3-4 receivers, maybe a tight end. So receivers and tight ends, they both can catch the ball. You can't throw a ball to the lineman. They're not an eligible receiver. But a tight end, depending on the team, a tight end is usually better used as for blocking. They'll be on the line and they'll help block. Receivers really don't do that much. Receivers, they receive. You throw the ball downfield to a receiver. That's what they do. They make the big catches. That's the Odell Beckhams of the world, the Terrell Owenses, those type of people. Receivers, they get those big playmaking catches. So those are the most well-known people are usually running back, quarterback, and receivers as far as the offense goes. So let's switch to defense. As far as the defense goes, there's, again, 11 people on the field, and then there's the defensive line. So like there's the offensive line, there's the defensive line. Same thing, 300-pound guys. And the offensive line and the defensive linemen, they're going at each other. It's really just like a lot of fat guys running into each other. 300-pound guys, they're big. And what the defensive line tries to do is stop the run, stop the players. So if a running back goes down the middle, the defensive line is trying to stop them. They're trying to stop the quarterback, get through that pocket, break through that offensive line, the pocket, and sack the quarterback. So similarly, there's usually like 5 guys on the defensive line. And then there's a position called linebacker. There can be multiple linebackers on the field, but they can either come up to the line and be on the defensive line, or they kind of float in the back a little bit, like a few feet behind the defensive line. The linebackers are very athletic. They're also pretty well known as far as football players go. Linebackers get really popular. A lot of them are the ones that are hard hitters. They're big, but they're fast, so they're more lean than the defensive linemen, and they're tough guys, and they'll come through. They'll sack the quarterback. They'll tackle the running back. They are very, very athletic players. There can be, multiple linebackers in at a time. And then you have the secondary. The secondary is what we call the back group of guys in the defense. Those are like the corners, the cornerbacks, and the safeties. And what those guys do is it's really their job to guard the receivers. So if I'm a receiver, I'm running downfield, there's probably going to be a cornerback or a safety running alongside me trying to stop me. They're usually the ones who are getting interceptions, tackling the receivers, stuff like that. They also will tackle the running back if the running back runs into the secondary. But it's really the secondary's job to stop the pass. That's their big thing. Whereas the defensive line, it's really their goal to stop the run. You won't usually see a defensive lineman tackling a receiver. Well, if you do, then something weird is going on with that team. But that's a good way to think about it. Defensive line stops the run, secondary tries to stop the pass. So if your team allows a lot of passing yards, usually the issues with the secondary, and vice versa with the running game. If they can't stop the run, it's usually an issue with the defensive line. And if your team can't run the ball, then there's usually an offensive line issue. The offensive line is supposed to create spaces for the running backs to run, for the quarterback to run. If a quarterback is getting sacked a lot, it's the offensive line's fault. They're not holding the pocket and protecting them from the defenders enough, and therefore they're getting thrown on their butt. They're getting sacked. And any player can sack the quarterback. Any player on the defense can run up and sack the quarterback. Anyone can throw him on his butt, basically. There's no rules as to who can tackle the quarterback. I hope that explains things enough to y'all. If there's any additional questions, of course, tweet me or ask me on the Facebook page. Happy to answer it. But those are the very, very, very basic descriptions of what everyone on a football team does, basically. That's all it is. See, it's really not that hard, I promise. Alright, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Thanks for watching.